In the fall of 1964, I started my sophomore year at St. Mary's Girls High School in Manhasset, New York. Now, Manhasset was and still is an affluent New York City suburb nestled on the Long Island waterfront. This was the days of stay at home moms and money making dads. And plunked into this suburban bliss was me, one disgruntled, frustrated, smart, eager girl who wanted to bend the rules, gamble on horses, and become an actor. Now, my parents raced horses, so I came by gambling honestly enough, and I was bursting at the seams. I wanted independence. And in fact, I needed more money than my measly allowance for my gambling habits. I needed to get a job. Now, the problem was that if I worked after school, I'd miss the bus and I'd have to take the train home. And I knew my mom would never allow me such independence without a good reason, so I lied. Simple. I just told her I had these student government meetings and study clubs that meant I'd be coming home late. She was pleased that I was such a solid citizen now after all the trouble I had been in St. Aloysius Elementary School. So she didn't complain or question. Lucky me. Now, in walking distance of St. Mary's High was an elegant eatery called Patricia Murphy's Candlelight Restaurant. It catered to a middle-aged and elderly clientele. The food was pretty bland. American food like prime rib, roasted chicken, turkey pot pie, the boring American food of the early 60s, serving the uneducated palates of upper middle class white folk. Now, what Patricia Murphy had going for it was its decor with the necessary candles at each table and popovers. Popovers are these tasty, puffy bread things, eggy and lovely with a loose interior where you stuff oodles of butter. I loved popovers a lot. And Patricia Murphy served them the same way some restaurants served a roll or French bread. Hot popovers were offered at each table by the, wait for it, the popover girl. Yes. There actually were young women who circulated the restaurant with baskets of hot popovers and tongs in hand. It was a real job, and a job that a 14-year-old could do. I heard about it from my two rule-bending besties, Sharon and Mary. We were known to drink small cartons of orange juice laced with vodka in the school bathroom and smoke sneak cigarettes outside the building in the parking lot, sitting on the pavement between cars. Oh, yeah, we were the bad girls. But if you ask me, we were pretty tame bad girls. Sharon, Mary, and I decided to apply to be popover girls. After school, the three of us filled out applications, my first work application ever, and voila, we found out all three of us could start work immediately. The job was actually tougher than we thought. We came to the restaurant 3 days during the school week and once on the weekend. On weekdays, we were working from 3:30 to 8:30 p.m. We were on our feet the entire time. Handing out delicious popovers and bussing tables in between was difficult, but it was the endless customer chats that got you down. Lonely, elderly ladies desperate for a new face to tell an old story. Older guys wanting to flirt and sometimes even cop a feel. When my shift ended, it took me an hour to get home. My mom was getting suspicious about my 9:30 p.m. arrivals, and I made excuses. Then I just gave up and told my parents about my job. To my surprise, they approved. Joe's ambitious, my dad said. We should be proud. And immediately my mother, now seeing my enterprising spirit as something she could tout to enhance her own profile, quickly signed on. So how could I tell them that I actually wanted to quit? The money wasn't that good. And after you eat a dozen or so popovers, they don't seem that enticing. And my feet constantly hurt. But now I was trapped. Sharon and Mary felt the same way about the job, but they were trapped for a different reason. Up to this point, I had never thought about the financial status of my friends. I mean, while some families lived in bigger houses and seemed to have more money than us, I never knew anyone whose family struggled. Now, sitting between the cars in the parking lot, pulling hard and quickly on our forbidden cigarettes, Sharon and Mary explained that their families struggled to pay the parochial school tuition. There was nothing extra, and sometimes the family actually fell short of buying a full week's cash of groceries. They couldn't quit Patricia Murphy. That changed everything for me. I absorbed the pain of my friends, the embarrassment, the shame, and that's where it stood. We worked the entire fall and through Thanksgiving. I wasn't going to quit because my friends couldn't quit. And finally, it was the week of Christmas. We were exhausted when the manager actually added extra shifts. We felt underappreciated and worn out. It was Christmas Eve, and we were forced to work. For the most part, the customers were nice that day, Christmas Eve and all. Most of them were regulars in my station, except for one elderly gentleman. He had white hair, a close-cropped beard, and expensive wire-rimmed glasses. He ordered prime rib and had a couple of popovers. I joked to Sharon and Mary that he looked like Santa Claus. When my Santa left, I went to clear the table and noticed a little envelope addressed to me. Inside was a note and $300. Merry Christmas to you and Sharon and Mary, the note said. I know you all work hard. And yes, there is a Santa Claus. $100 for each of us? That was a fortune in 1964. I offered to split my 100 with Sharon and Mary. They refused. It's from Santa, they said. You can't mess with Santa. We never saw that man again, but we now knew there was truly magic in the world to celebrate. And on any given day, a miracle can happen.